All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's your host, Garrett Mehrguth. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm going to be joined by a special guest, the current CMO of Matterport. It does like really cool 3D visualizations. I think Robin will be able to explain it better, as well as the ex-CMO of WeWork and other brands you respect. So excited to have you here today with us, Robin.
Thanks for having me, Garrett. I'm coming to you live. It's 10 o'clock here in Copenhagen. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
10 a.m. or 10 p.m.? Like what level
PM,
are we at?
PM.
Oh my God, I'm already asleep. How are you awake right now? So thank you.
You know what? Yeah, I just took some extra shots of espresso.
I love it. Well, for everybody tuning in, the format of the show is Robin and I don't know who we're about to do a live audit for. And I'm genuinely curious. And so what we do right now, Robin, is we ask Ryan, our producer behind the scenes, to spin the wheel. So Ryan, can you spin the wheel for us? Oh, malware bites. Okay, I like that one. Bamboo. Skill share and WordStream. I'd be curious on. So let's see where we end up. Oh yes, BambooHR. Cool.
Okay,
Have you heard of BambooHR before, Robin?
I've heard the name. I honestly don't really know them in detail, so this will be fun.
Yeah. So from my understanding, they're a little bit like an outsourced HR provider. So you're starting up something, you don't want to build out a whole people ops unit yet.
Okay.
But you want to be, doing all those things. But let's go share our screen. Let's do it live and see.
Okay. All right.
What we want. So what we're going to look at now is kind of the way we like to start is we're going to go to their website first.
Okay.
And take a look at it and kind of see, what we think. Just initial first impression, right? HR software with a heart. Lets you focus on people, not process. Okay. So it sounds like they got an admin angle.
Okay. Yeah.
This looks like their little panda guy. I'm curious if they'll stay throughout. We got some people.
Okay, yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
So it looks like it helps you with hiring, onboarding, compensation, and
Can you scroll up again? Can you scroll up again a little bit? I just want to see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
I gotta say, I'm glad we didn't get a company where I know the CMO. That would have been awkward.
This is good. So we're gonna have fun with our constructive feedback of what we would do. Right. The goal of this is to say if we showed up a CMO, what would we attack? It's not that our approach is necessarily better than theirs. It's more if we were CMO, what would we do? And we want to kind of find three core pillars of what we might do different. It looks like they have, some people here doing some social proof.
Yeah.
Interesting homepage. And one of the other things I like to do is I like to go on G2.
Okay.
And I like to go to their 3-star reviews. And I found that your 3-star reviews can sometimes be the most illuminating around where your gaps are. Because these are people that really didn't hate you or love you, right? They're just kind of, I think, sometimes the most honest in a certain sense. And so I like to go find these 3 stars and take a look. And what we can do right here is look at what do you dislike? Not too much functionality. The way you assign tasks doesn't allow for a lot of detail. There's also, let's see, recommendations. This is my favorite. If reporting and integrations are important to you, make sure that you ask about their plans to beef up those elements. Interesting. Okay.
Sounds like
I know
people
for me,
describing it as an ATS solution. I mean, I used to work at LinkedIn. We were about to release our own version of an ATS, and certainly we partnered and integrated with a lot of ATS solutions out there.
We do a ton on ATS this year, right? We've got Lever as a client in the past. And then I use LinkedIn Recruiter, right? Their ATS. I also have currently as an ATS, I use Jazz HR. But those people aren't necessarily playing in the game of Gusto and Zenefits, right? Where you got benefits and this is like if you're looking for something affordable and very easy, then this service is for your HR, right? So you kind of have this idea, very much an SMB product. It's looking like more pre-canned. This will work if you need something that integrates well. It might not be the right fit. So I've already seen multiple people mention integrations. my thought is, if we go back, and this is true, by the way, right? If you've got Gusto, you want to make sure if you got your 401k with someone else that it integrates. If you got your 401k here and you run payroll through ADP, you want to make sure it integrates, right? So
yeah.
Let's go see if they even talk about integrations.
Not much, really, at all. Do they have anything? Maybe it's in the top line menu. A lot of times it is like integrations or something like that.
I didn't see it up there earlier. I don't freaking here. So here's a little trick of my trade. So it's in their marketplace.
Marketplace, interesting, yeah.
But I don't think I saw the marketplace, and I wouldn't have thought that.
No.
Okay. So I got a little thing in the back of my head now around integrations, which I think goes back to usability of products. So what's your take, Robin, as we get, I want to obviously bring your insights here. What's your take around how, when people try to experience the full value your product creates and there's limitations, what's your take on addressing that, right? Like at Matterport, you historically required hardware. I see you guys are pushing towards iPhone. Obviously, a restraint in the value creation process is getting it into the product. What's your take on addressing that? Do you hide? Do you hit it first? Do you hit it second? How do you address that type of thing?
It's a good question. So first of all, for those of you who don't know what Matterport is or what we do, so we're a 3D capture solution. We create beautiful virtual experiences. And for the longest time, we required you to have a Matterport camera, but now we've opened it up so you can really do it with any device, even the ones that you have in your pocket, an iPhone and soon to be Android. So that's just a little bit of history. In terms of the limitations, I think you just got to be honest around it at the beginning of the cycle. I certainly wouldn't put it in the messaging. I think it's awkward if you don't have the right integrations that people are looking for. But at some point, it'll probably come up. So you just got to be very honest. Also, it can derail a conversation, a sales cycle very, very quickly, as I think we've probably seen. And it's interesting when you look at their homepage. I think they've done a really good job of trying to personify something that's honestly a little bit hard to understand what it is. I think it's a little bit of the Salesforce playbook. They have their cute little characters related to Salesforce. Here you've got the panda bear, which is kind of cute, I think. But the messaging itself, I don't think it's specific enough. I always say this to my team. When it comes to messaging, we really have to be able to say that we're the first or the best or the only one to do something, and we have to be able to say statements where only our name can go next to it. If you come up with generic statements, then you can literally always insert other companies' names there, and you haven't really honed that message enough. And when I look at that kind of subtag line, is it was it process, not people, or people, not process, something like that? Yeah. Literally, you could probably insert so many other ATS systems or HRIS systems in that category, and which makes it a little bit hard for me instantly to know what it is that you're trying to do or what it is you're trying to sell me. So it's not. So there's some goodness there. I think that this softness of trying to juxtapose something that's a little maybe, I think, not that easy to comprehend. Just like a CRM system is how do I even personify it? Salesforce has done a good job. I think they're doing a good job of that, but the messaging needs to be tightened up a little bit. And maybe the messaging is, if you want to be able to say you're first or best or the only one, maybe you hammer on your integrations or your ease of use or your custom. But what is it that you're hanging your hat on? Trying to be everything to everyone, it's really tough. It's really tough.
No, I agree. And I think, a couple of things I saw here that threw me off. Okay. Let's do it. All right. Let's have some fun. So, like you said, don't say things that anyone can say because you can swap the logos out. I think that's brilliant. I think the other thing is you're pushing for self-onboarding because that's the marketplace. This marketplace does self-onboarding, yet you don't talk about price. That to me is insanity when you're running marketing for self-onboarding, right? Because we do a lot here on the enterprise B2B side, right? Like Sumo Logic or things like that. And they're all even there moving to dev onboarding. They're trying to get developer first. They're trying to get to their end user, right? Like champion marketing. They want to get someone from the organization to become a champion, experience value on the product, and then grow, land and expand. Very similar to sales model marketing's pursuing.
Yep.
Well, the biggest friction, even more so than anything at the end of the day really is pricing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hidden right here on the bottom of their software, right? Now, I would argue people who hide it normally also hide the price.
Yeah. Let's see.
And that appears.
Yeah. That'd be,
Yep.
yeah. And in today's world, honestly, in 2020, there's really, I think, no excuse to hide a price. There really isn't. I mean, you got to be transparent. You might have some very, specialized pricing for certain use cases, certain like situations, maybe even like massive volume and so on. But you really got to have a price there, because it allows persons to like put you in a category whether or not they even want to do business with you. So that's number one. The second thing is also they are pushing heavily, obviously, to try it for free, which I think is a great call to action. But I don't know what I'm trying. So you're trying to get me to try something where I'm not really sure what it is that I'm going to be doing yet. And so it's nearly a step too aggressive. It's like when I get these in-mails on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, let's set up a call next week." I'm like, I haven't even met you yet. I have no idea what you do. It's a little like the preemptive close. Let's get to know each other a little bit first.
1,000,000,000%. I think that I wish I use Gusto, but Gusto's so darn good at this. It's hard to beat them. Like if you go to pricing, for example, you can see it all, and then you click get started, and then immediately you go into this really custom experience, and they let you know no credit card required. Now, we spent a lot of time optimizing, for example, and I like to use this as an example, this kind of environment where you have, no credit card required, up and running in minutes, regions, very simple. This, to me, if I was CMO, would be the first place I'd start, because I think I'd get the most leverage by increasing activation, and I'd have increasing marginal returns. In other words, I'd improve my LTV CAC, I'd improve all my financials, and I'd look great in front of the board within 90 days by simply decreasing psychological friction of my product. Do you integrate with my payroll? How much does it cost? When I sign up, do I need a credit card? Right? Like, I can try it for free, but then, like, let's see what happens, right? So we go through this.
Yeah. I'm not a fan when you have multiple pages either. I always feel like I'm like waiting psychologically to like, what's gonna be there on the next page? Are they gonna ask me for an arm and a leg in terms of cost, my credit card or something? Or are they gonna ask for a gazillion fields, industry, blah, blah, blah. So it's just a psychological factor of like seeing this step 1 of 2. Just make it one simple step. That's all. Let's see what's on the second page. I'm curious about this. So put in your password, say it out loud so everybody can hear it.
Now I'm gonna get the email. Darn it, Robin. Now I'm in the sales process. The work phone, company, employee size, and then create account. Now,
see, it's like here, like you're already, I think, asking for a little bit too much. There are ways to get around this. There are lots of apps, platforms out there that will automatically connect you with this kind of information, and you're just putting more friction in the process of me signing up. And don't get me wrong,
you got Clearbit, you got all those people that'll help you enrich data, right?
Same I'm going through at Matterport, actually. Like, the sign-up process was a little overcomplicated. Now it's getting more simple. We're constantly focusing on, can we get it down to like one single thing that we're asking for? That's the ultimate goal, right? So I'm totally with you.
No, I love that. Now, you're in the business a lot of times, right, where people bring you in, Robin, it looks like, to help generate demand for a category that is functional, it's usable. People want it. When they see it, they're like, oh my God, finally something exists. Content's got to be big on that, right? Because not only the way you communicate the value of the brand in your transactional messaging, let's say on your homepage, but also in your content marketing. So let's take a look here at BambooHR at some of the stuff they're doing and see kind of, I love this type of content. I've always found this kind of content to do really, really well. Let's see how it looks. Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Can you make it a little bit bigger? Because I also can make my screen size bigger. That's fine.
There we go. Does this help?
Yeah. It's all good.
So let's see. My initial feedback already goes to like how uninspiring, right? Like I want to feel excitement in this moment so that I actually leverage it. Let's go something simple. Let's go here. Let's just, Keep it real simple.
I wonder how many people really know the answer to all this, or do they just give bogus information?
That's actually a great point. Let's explore that, Robin. So let's say your POC doesn't know this.
Yeah. So you're like, either I put in bogus information, which means I'll get a bogus answer, or maybe I just gonna take the time because it seems like I'll do it later, So again, I'm not like an HR expert. Maybe every HR expert knows this, but it is like I'm not sure they would know all that information just off the top of their head, especially around like how many are we hiring. Well, it's such a floating number, unless I think you're in an organization that's super stable, which I don't think many companies are at this point, especially if you're dealing with SMB, which is what it looks like they're dealing with. Like knowing exactly how many you're going to hire and so on, I think it's going to be a hard one to answer. It's going to be a guesstimate.
What's the concept of it though, right? Because we're trying to show the value of the product. I just wonder, why don't you, if we're just being real, right, take their entire customer base, which they have access to, anonymize it, average out the data, and then slap right here on our freaking homepage. What if we did this, right? So like, what if we took your same concept of earlier and we said, small businesses save $2.5 billion a year on our platform. And then we change this button that says, instead of try it for free, it says, see how much you could save, right? And we master this frictionless, value-centric onboarding. And then it says things, and we have pricing self-evident, and it says starting from X amount per month. And it's this whole flow, right? Where immediately I've experienced it and I'm ready to go. Does that make sense?
It totally does. I'll tell you, I mean, in order to get anybody's attention, people's attention spans are short these days, right? And so you need to have like a surprising fact, something I didn't know before that'll enlighten me, or at least, entertain me. And ideally, in an ideal world, you do both. That's kind of the holy grail. If you can entertain somebody and provide them with something they didn't know, it's great. So for example, when we were promoting Force.com and I was at Salesforce, this is probably over a decade ago now. The fact that we always led with Force.com, you can develop apps 5 times faster and half the cost. This just stopped everybody. They're like, wait, did I hear that right? 5 times faster and half the cost. Now I'm interested. Tell me how. Nobody's going to say no to that value proposition. Nobody, right? It's like, so I can develop my apps 5 times faster and half the cost. Okay, I want to learn more. So now you're in the cycle and you're like, already you've opened your mind to wanting to learn more. And there's such an opportunity. If they must have a lot of data at this company that they can probably mine to put out some surprising facts. Oh, you can save this much money, or onboarding is 10 times faster. We all know like integrating some of these systems can be a pain, right? So maybe it's an onboarding, maybe it's integration costs, maybe it's lower costs overall. There's so many opportunities to lead with something both surprising and entertaining, I think.
I love what you're saying, Robin. And like, for me, if I were them, I would eviscerate the content playbook that everyone's following. And I would use all the data I have from my product and the companies, and I would just publish weekly reports, monthly reports, quarterly reports, annual reports. Here's, average amount of new hires right now by industry. And you can see what industries are hiring, what industries aren't hiring. Average salary by HR role by industry. Average CEO compensation by industry. Right? I mean, I could go for hours and hours across customer personas. Totally. And things like that, and never run out of content that was like compelling, that was newsworthy, that got links, that actually worked. You know what I mean?
Totally. And once that data starts becoming mainstream, then you'll see it show up in news articles, in internal decks. People are presenting to their executive teams, hey, we need to go with BambooHR because the data says this, or we need to optimize these systems and processes. So once that data becomes part of the psyche of the mainstream, you'll see it show up in decks and on other sites, podcasts, you name it. But such a great way of having something, again, coming back to what I said at the beginning. What is it that you can say you're the first, best, or only one to do? If they have so much data, maybe they lean into that story, right? It's such an opportunity for them.
No, 100%. It's not easy. Like Brian, who runs our marketing here, it's something I'm working on with him, is like, we have more SaaS data than any other search marketing agency in the world, right? We legitimately do. And we have first-party data and third-party data. And getting that to be the only content we talk about is a lot harder than you think, because getting the data, normalizing the data, consistently analyzing and publishing it. But I think it's a noble pursuit that goes back to your initial point, like you said. Now, a little nuanced thing. I don't like mixed menus. I don't like having like a blog menu that's different than my homepage because I can't optimize it. But I want to get your feedback on this, Robin.
Yeah.
What do you believe, right? I see over here, capture, share, collaborate, right? So that's 3 different use cases for your product on Matterport. Here they have people, hiring, onboarding, compensation, culture. In a platform, I'm guessing I can not just buy one in, right? Usually these platforms are, all in. What's your take on like communicating product value by features or solutions or by use cases, right? Like, because I see yours, right? You have industries, which I love. There's also things like platform with different roles. Here, I don't see a lot of that. So in your mind, like, what's the best way, since you do a lot of positioning and things like that, do you go by use case? Do you go by role? Do you go by industry? Like, what do you have seen to be the most effective way for people to go, I get the idea, and here's exactly how I'll use it?
I mean, in this case, it's so obvious to me. It's not always obvious for each company, right? Because the buyers can be very different. Like, so when I was at WeWork, if you're selling to a small business, for example, a lot of times the CEO you're selling to, or a COO who's out there trying to find a new office space. If it's a mid-sized company, they usually have a facilities team or something like that. And their large companies certainly does, right? They have not just a facilities, but per city and so on. So it's very different. Like, and sometimes the CFO is involved. At Matterport, we sell to retail, we sell to real estate, commercial real estate, we sell to insurance, so it's all over. So we have to have specific messaging. But for this company, I assume they just sell to HR or people, the people team, right? And so this is very specific.
CEO and HR, right? Small businesses don't have HR. That's why they're going to use Bamboo, or they're a small business with HR, and that lady or man is wearing way too many hats, right? So we got, let's say, 2 people.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, if they're really going for like tiny companies, then absolutely. They usually. When I was at Vera, I joined Vera. We were, I think, 8 people. We had a consultant who was kind of doing. She was kind of doing the finances, but also the HR systems, and she was doing a little bit of everything. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But it wasn't the CEO that was doing it. We hired somebody, because it's rarely the CEO's expertise to do that. It's usually still somebody who knows. So I still think, but I always think this though. It's kind of like when you go give a presentation. If I'm going to give a presentation to a customer, and the customer says, "Oh, we're going to bring in the team to hear your pitch," and they bring in 10 people, and there's lots of different personalities in this room. And so who do you tailor the pitch to? And I have a rule of thumb: you always tailor the pitch to the most important person in the room. That's not always the most senior person, but you always got to tailor it to the most important person, because that's the one who ultimately will make the decision. Same here. Who's the most important audience for them? It's the HR audience, the people audience, right? So that's what I think they really got to tailor the messaging to. CEO may be secondary, but it's not the main one, would be my guess.
I love that. So let's take that and make it practical, right? Because I agree. I've been saying on podcasts and on stage and everywhere else, champion is more important than decision maker. When we work with clients and I go talk to their team and I meet with the CMO, a lot of times they say, look, our ideal customer is the CFO here. I said, hey, that's great. But what percent of your CFOs have bookkeepers? And they're like, about 90% of them. And I said, well, let me tell you something about what I've seen with CFOs. And that's, they don't go out and buy software. They tell their bookkeeper, hey, go get me 3 quotes. And so a lot of times in digital, we miss that. So what if we did something like, why BambooHR is why like HR leaders choose us, right? Something more like this.
Exactly.
And now all of a sudden it's just, I think, so uncompelling right now. It's like they're terrified of having an opinion. You get what I'm saying? Like everything here is so HR with the heart, right? Like focus on people, not process. Let's be great together. I don't think you could get fluffier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's what one of my first comments is. I still don't quite know what they do. You could insert a lot of companies there. Could you insert Lever there? Maybe. Could you insert ADP? I don't know. There's a lot of these companies out there that do this. But that's great. Let's you focus on people, not process. I mean, that could be a lot of things, I think, really.
Well, they have award-winning service and support. To me, I bet you this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. See, that's a great hook, actually, right? That's a great hook because you're right. If they're going after SMBs, which it looks like they are, then you rarely have like a full-time staff just focusing on HR. And so like either you outsource it or you have somebody who's wearing multiple hats, like you were saying. So maybe this is a great hook that they can say we're the best at this. We make it easy so you don't have to spend time on this, right? You can lower your time spent on HR stuff 50%. I'm like, okay, great, because it's a lot of like manual labor, you have to do, I'm sure, when you have to set up, medical and like people in the system and they're coming and going and everything else, and if this also does hiring, that's also a lot of work. So if you can save you 50% of time or something, that would be an instant hook.
No, agreed, right? Because my point here is like ability to focus on people, not process. Prove it, right? Show me exactly. Focusing on people. Here's all the time we save you in processes. So as we're wrapping up here, Robin, I want you to tell me, if you can, in a perfect world, you show up, you are teleport. Matterport's gone. I'm sorry. I know you're near and dear to your heart, Robin. You're now the CEO of BambooHR. Okay, it is day one. You got 90 days to make an impact before the board wants you to present kind of what your game plan is. What are the 3 big rocks you're going to do as CMO at BambooHR?
So it's number one, definitely honing in on the messaging. What is the messaging that we're going to claim to be the best at? And just stake our claim on one thing and make it very clear what that one thing is. Number 2 is probably, this is a very crowded category. I think it's very hard to stand out in this category. So it's like, how can we come up with something maybe that's a new category or something that differentiates us somehow, not just with our buyers, but also potentially with the experts and everybody else who's thinking about this. So we don't get lumped into everybody else. It's always the hardest thing when you get lumped in and instantly compared to so many other companies. It's super hard to differentiate yourself.
I like that.
The third thing is it's just like making sure that the team's like setup, org chart, everything else is not shining through on the website, which I think a lot of times it does, And so it's like, okay, we got this team, so we got to have a section for this team. We got to have this team, so we got to have a section. Like, let's make sure that it's completely hidden. Like the most important thing is that we give clarity for people what we do and make it easy for them to get to engage with us. So there's no friction. Take as much friction out of the process as we can.
Yeah. Robin, I love it. I love what you said too about the team thing. I think it's so funny to me that as marketers, we're so worried about what the product team here has, what EMEA wants, what APAC wants. I saw you've done a lot of global stuff too, so you really get this. Right? Like, ours on a subdomain. We want a separate website. We have ours on a subdomain. They're all different menus, but what we don't realize is all of us are in the business of being together.
That's right.
And
exactly right.
We need to create a jointed, not disjointed, right, marketing strategy that consistently shows brand value.
I wish sometimes that people in my org didn't know my org chart because it doesn't really matter. The most important is that we're unified because they'll instantly go, oh, you got a brand team, you got a demand team, you got a PR team. It's like no, and they instantly assign value. It's like, no, the most important thing is that we're delivering these 3 things that we said we're going to deliver. That's all that matters.
I love it. I'm going to finish up with my 3 just because, I don't know, I feel like somebody might care. I would focus on psychological friction, just like pricing. Like you can't be competing with Zenefits and Gusto in a digital world and not mention price. You're just gonna get your butt kicked, right? So I think having pricing, better onboarding, better just like starting now. I can make the company and myself and my team look very good in 90 days by just getting some clarity around using our product, onboarding, and decreasing time to value. Like how quickly can I get someone to experience the value of my product? Really great. Number 1. Number 2, data. I got to get all that product data so that I start publishing the reports that the industry references. I think if you took that plus your category creation, right? So if you took the data to then say something only you could say in a category only you exist in, now we start to have price leverage, right? And we can say starting from $7, we say 11 because the $4 other dollars is because we're different than everyone. I have this saying that people pay more for different. They don't ever pay more for better.
Think about
And
it's a great example. Like when they came out with a CRM system that was in the cloud, right? And they didn't come out and try to compete on features versus all the other CRM systems, because that would have just gotten into oh, you have this, we have that, blah 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 blah. No, they come out and say, we fundamentally have a different business model. We're a different company to do business with. It instantly changed the conversation because they reinvented the business model. They invented SaaS, I think, for all intents and purposes. I'll probably get some comments on that, but it's more or less true. And so they changed the conversation, right? Instantly. It wasn't about features anymore. It was about a different business relationship. That's powerful.
Yeah. I love that, Robin. I love that. I think, the third thing I would do, I would just get the messaging right. Like you said, man, like I would start really just saying things that mattered. I think they're so nervous. I could tell what it is. Like you can look at it and there's fear in the way they're writing their copy. It's not confident. They're not going on really confident in like who they are and what they believe in. Yeah. And I think people can sense that. Like people want to work with the best, and there's confident and there's arrogant, right? And there's a line, but I think you gotta be like confident and bold in your messaging.
Agree 100%.
I love it. Well, for everyone listening and tuning in today, Robin, how can people follow you? Obviously, you had some ton of wisdom, ton of insights. How can people follow you, be a part of kind of what you got going on?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. Got my LinkedIn right there to go. You got my Twitter handle as well. Those are the two best ways. You can also hit me up. I'm robin@matterport.com if you want to send me some thoughts. Always happy to hear from you.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Robin. This was amazing. And that is our SaaS marketing makeover. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Bye.